ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so you have out on your desk your factor flow chart from yesterday. And just reiterating what I had said yesterday. When you factor, you always, always, always first look to see if there is a GCF. Always first. You do that first. So if there is a GCF, you take it out, you put it in front. It doesn't magically disappear, it just goes in front. From there, if it is 2 terms, we look for difference of squares. If it is 4 terms, we do factor by grouping. Today we learned 3 terms, and we are doing 3 terms by guess and check, which has to do with the FOIL method. Everybody knows what the FOIL method is. Yeah.
So since we're learning that, we're kind of confused, so I said, do we have to go back and do that again?
No. You will not have to go back and do anything different on last night's homework that have to do with 3 terms, because those won't work. They won't. And I'll show you an example of one that doesn't work in here so you'll understand what I'm saying, but it won't work. Okay? Yep.
What if you have like the difference of perfect squares or whatever? Do you still take the GCF
You
first?
always do the GCF first.
Even if it's
Always.
like the perfect square thingy?
Always.
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 Oh.
You're talking about number 12, yeah. So you have to go back and redo that one. So that would be one thing that I'm going to come around and look at when I look through paper. Okay, but in the meantime, before we go back and we look at yesterday's factoring assignment, we're going to do today's trinomials. Today, there are 2 completely worked out trinomials, factored trinomials. I'm going to talk you through it, then we'll do them ourselves. So to factor the trinomial means 3 terms, x squared plus 8x minus 20, 3 terms. To factor that, going back, when we did FOIL, last night's homework, when we did FOIL, and I gave you something like x minus 2, x plus 10, you had to first do x times x. Then you did x times 10, then minus 2x, then minus 20. And then from there, our middle 2 terms added together. And we have that. Now we're doing exactly that, but undoing it. So we're going to start with x squared plus 8x minus 20. What you want to do first is when you start is these are all going to be 2 binomials. Go ahead and just write the parentheses down. You don't have to write anything right now. You can just watch because it's already written there for you. And then we're going to do it together with those examples. So you're going to write the 2 parentheses down. Then you ask yourself, what did I multiply together? The very first 2 things I multiplied together over here stayed the same the whole time. What was that to give me x squared? Well, it had to be x and x. So that's where we put x and x in here. And then your next step is you look at the last term. The last term over here was when I multiplied negative 2 and 20. I get negative 20, and it stayed the same the whole time. So there I can think what multiplies together to give me 20. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, like any of these. So I'm making a list. Finally, I have to figure out when I multiply them back together, when I do my outer and my inner for FOIL, it has to add up to give me the middle term. So now what I'm thinking is which 2 of these adds up to give me an 8? Well, not really add to give me 8. Since this is a negative 20, one of these is going to have to be a negative number. So which 2 of these add together to give me 8 if one of them is negative? We're looking at 10 and negative 2.
There's a positive 8.
It has to be, of the positive one has to be the bigger one, exactly. So that's how we're figuring out to put the negative 2 and the 10 in there. But then we check it. So that one is completely done for you to go back and look at. There is another one that is completely done for you. This one, we would go through the same process. What times what makes x squared? That's x and x. Then you're thinking, what times what could possibly make 81? And you start making a list. 1 and 81, not 2. 3 and 27, not 4, not 5, 6. 9 and 9. Oh, but 9 and 9 somehow could give me 18 in the middle.
Negative 9 and negative 9.
If they were both negatives. And so we checked it, we did negative 9x, that does equal negative 18x. So we have x minus 9x minus 9. But here's what I want you to get out of this example. If they are exactly the same, you have to write them as one binomial squared. They're exactly the same, you have to do that last step. You had that question in your homework too. Didn't you have x minus 9 squared? Like 4 times?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going all the way back to the original question, basically. So you have to go all the way back to squared. Okay, so those are in your notes worked out. This is a flow chart just to help you figure out the signs if you need the help. I'm not going to read the flow chart to you, but just kind of summarize. This right here, if this is a plus, then it tells you both signs are the same. It tells you both of these signs are the same if that one is a plus. That's what it says here, just in different language. If that's a plus, both signs are the same. That means they're both positive or they're both negative. And then if that is a negative sign, if that last one is a negative, then the two signs are different, one of each. So if the last term is plus, we've got the same sign in both parentheses. If the last sign is negative, we have a 1 plus and 1 minus sign. And you have to figure out what's what. And the more you do it, the more it'll make sense. And you'll be able to remember it. Okay, number 1. What is our very, very, very first thing we always do for factoring?
GCF.
What is the first thing we do for factoring?
Oh, I don't know.
Right, we need to look to see if we can take out a GCF. So number 1, or A, is there a GCF?
No.
Other than 1. 1 we don't bother with, other than 1. So we're going to go and we're going to make our 2 parentheses. And we're going to start by looking at our first term, which is x squared.
X.
So I'm going to put an x and an x here. That x times x is x squared. Now I'm going to look at 12. What factors do I have of 12? 1 and 12, 6 and 2, 3 and 4. Okay. When I multiply these back together and I add them together, I have to get 8.
Sure.
So I'm going to try 6 and 2. And both positive because that sign right here tells me same signs, same. This tells me what sign they are. So then we check it. We do our outer, x times 2, and we do our inner, 6 times x. Do those add up to the 8x?
Yes.
Check. We have the right answer. You're clapping for yourself.
No, I was clapping for you, Miss Crystal. That's
Question B. Is there a GCF?
no.
So then we start here. Question B starts with x squared. So what comes first?
X.
X. Question B has a 12 here. 1, 12, 3, 4, 2, 6, any of those options.
Negative 2, negative 6.
Question B has a plus sign here, meaning same signs. And then negative here, meaning that's what the signs are. So what 2 numbers could we possibly use to give us 8 in the middle? 2 and 6? Let's check and make sure we did it right. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. X times negative 6 is negative 6x. Do those add together to give us negative 8x?
Yes.
Check. So my answer is what I am highlighting. My answer is not the check. It is what I'm highlighting, the two parentheses, the factors. Oh, well, yeah. I haven't gotten that one yet. All right, number C, letter C. Is there a GCF?
No.
So we go and put in our parentheses, what's going to give us x squared? X and x. Look at the sign. What does that sign tell me? Two different signs. One is plus, one is minus. I don't know which one's which yet. So now I'm going to make a list of my numbers that make 20. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. So then I'm trying to figure out how can I get an 8? Negative 10 plus 2. Whoops. Negative 10 plus 2. So I'm going to check it. I'm going to do my outer is minus 10x. My inner is plus 2x. I add them and I get negative 8x. Ooh, yay, that checks. That is our factored answer. Next one. GCF.
Nope.
So we put on our parentheses. We'll start with x and x, and we figure out what multiplies together to give us negative 12. Let's see. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. How can I get negative 12, though? Negative?
One's positive,
One's positive, one's negative. How am I going to get negative 8? Negative 6, negative 2?
No, well, they have to be different.
None of them work, right?
That can't work.
You broke the math.
Well, the problem is that this is a prime number, and it cannot be factored. It has no factors. It's like the number 17 that only is divisible by itself in 1. This is only divisible by itself in 1. So this would be prime. Do not hand in your homework assignment with 18 of them filled out saying prime, because they're not. That does not happen very often.
It's worth a try.
Yeah, you can
can't
try
solve
to
it
get them all
prime.
wrong.
If you
All right,
solve
take
it,
a moment. See if you, not all of them, you won't be able to do all of them. But see if you can do number 1, see if you can do number 2, maybe you can do 3, maybe even do 4. I will definitely go over these. I want to see what you can do on your own right now. I'm going to pause it while you work. I know it doesn't happen.
Just not pause. We're still running.
What a meme.
YouTube loves this. See that?
Did I hit it twice? Okay, going over 1 and 2 real fast. 1 and 2, we've got no greatest common factor, so we'll start with our two parentheses. We have an M and an M. And we have a negative 20. That tells me I'm going to have 1 plus and 1 minus. 20 could be 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. What's going to go in these places to make a minus 1 in the middle?
Oh, positive 5. I mean,
Minus 5 and a positive 4. We just check it real fast. That makes a minus 5m. That makes a plus 4m. That gives me negative 1m. So then we have the right answer. Number 2, no GCF, so we start x and x. And then I had some people who had questions on this one just because we don't know our factors. We got to make factors of 36. 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12,
4 and
4 and 9.
6 and 6.
Okay, So,
Nine.
up here, this tells me same sign, this tells me the signs are negative. And then how am I gonna get minus 13?
4 and 9.
4 and 9. So we have our answer. Now we've got number 3, and what is the very first step of factoring
Divide by
always?
2.
Is there a greatest common factor?
Dos.
So we're gonna factor out the 2. We're gonna put it in front, and we're gonna have left over x squared plus 2x minus 15. So we factored it out. Now, leaving the 2 in front, we're gonna, with that trinomial, do the guess and check. Leaving the 2 in front. 2's done, just leave it there.
So 1 and 15.
So I'm gonna have an x and an x here. I'm gonna look at my signs. That minus says one of each. A plus 5, right, and then take away 3. Yep, that would give me a plus 2 in the middle. So then we have our answer. This hopefully seems, if you know your factors, seems fairly simple. They do get a little bit more challenging. We get to number 4. Well, yeah, it'll get challenging in a moment. But when we get to number 4, and you say, what times what makes x squared? It's an x. We look at the signs. They're both positive. What times what makes 25? 5 and 5, and that adds to be 10. Now, if they are exactly the same,
Square.
X plus Y squared.
you have to write it this way, or you lose point.
Don't want to do that.
No.
Number 6, please.
Oh my gosh, I'm being patient.
It's a virtue.
Number 5. Did you try 5 yet? I'm gonna stop talking for a moment. You can try 5.
5 is easy.
Because I just, like, number 2. Wouldn't that also be fine because?
No.
There's not a 5.
Oh. So keep it as itself as 2x.
You can't take it too long.
Right.
In order to take something extra, I'm gonna see, rate it. Just divide it out, it has to evenly come out. And this is not time. She's like, this is not time. This deal. Brandon, work ahead, I haven't even watched this, this is the hard one.
Yeah.
Thank you for trying, you were done crying.
I only wrote down one
Alright,
time.
so I just prime.
Yeah.
Times
Right,
prime.
for all of them. Okay, number 5, what do we have? We start out with 2 parentheses, y and y. This says signs are the same, they're both minus. This gives me 7 and 7,
Square.
so y minus 7
Square.
squared. Next one, we start out the same. No GCF. First term is x squared, so we make it x and x. Looking at my signs, that is a plus sign. That tells me both are the same signs. They're both negative. Now, what times itself, not what times itself, what times what is going to give me 16y squared? So it's not just going to be 1 and 16, it's going to be 1y and 16y, or 2y and 8y, or 4y and 4y. That's how I'm getting the y squared there.
Yeah, number 8. Number 8's easy.
So what is my answer here?
2y.
2y and 8y. Let me just show you by checking it. I multiply my outer and I get negative 8x and y. And then I multiply by inner and I get negative 2x and y. They add up together to give us negative 10x and y. So that would be our answer. Number
Probably.
7. Is there a greatest common factor? We
Yes.
take it out. What is it?
2.
So we have 2 x squared plus 10x plus 16. So we have 2 and then 2 parentheses with an x and an x and a plus sign and a plus sign.
8 and 2.
And an 8. Oh, that was a terrible 8.
This is so.
And an 8 and a 2. This is so review. Next one.
Yeah,
Is there a
so
greatest
easy.
common factor?
Yeah, no.
There is not. So we're going to go straight to the 2 parentheses, but this is where it gets more challenging. Because I have a number in the front
Easy.
and in the back. You really have to think about where you place your factors, and you really have to check them. So what do I multiply together to give me 2x squared?
2x and x.
A 2x and an x. That is what I multiply together to give me 2x squared. My signs are both the same, both positive. What are my options for the other slots?
3 and 1.
1 and 3.
Whoop, hey, that's not what I wanted.
Ooh.
My options are either 3 and 1 or 1 and 3. I've got 2 different options.
Option number 2.
Well, let me check number 1 to show you why the answer is what it is. So I'm going to check option number 1, what I just put in there. I'll just move 1 and 3 over here for a second. Excuse me. There you go. So I'm going to check by doing my FOIL, and I multiply out, and I get 2x, and I multiply on the inside, and I get 3x. When I add them, do I get 5x?
Yes. You won't put together, you did.
So did I pick the right one?
Yes.
Well, we had arguing earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So if I had picked the other one, I'll show you, that is the right answer.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I don't know why I was saying that.
If I had picked the other way, if I had done 2x plus 1 and x plus 3, if I had done the other way, I'll show you why it doesn't work. Whoop, hey. If I had put it in the other order,
56x.
and then I multiplied it out, I would get 6x plus 1x, and that would be 7x, and that's not the original question. So it is important that you check them because you have to know what order to put the numbers. They just get more challenging, that's it. So that one would be number 10. Is there a greatest common factor?
Number 9.
Number 9, I saw the 10 and I just said it. Happens. Okay, so now we have a little bit of a challenge. What options do I have for the first slot?
Well, you could just write prime as a
No.
guess.
No.
No?
10x, so what makes 10x?
5 and 2.
10 and 1, 5.
So I could have a 1 or a 10, I could have a 10 or a 1, I could have a 2 or a 5, then I could have a 5 or a 2. Like, there's 4 different ways I could write this.
Guess and check.
This is guess and check. Ooh, I do know my signs though. This is plus, so they're both negative. I do know that. What are my factors of the last term?
1 and 3.
It's either 1 and 3 or 3 and 1. So I know that it's either 1 or 3 or 3 or 1. I'm just going to start with those. Then I'm going to play around with the first one because that one has more options. So I'm just going to play around with that one. I need to get a 17 when I'm done. And whatever number that I put in this spot has to multiply with the 3. So I'm probably going to check the 5 here to start. Because I need to get to 17. So if I do 5 times 3, I'm already at minus 15. And then I do 1 times, or negative 1 times 2, that's negative 2x. That's going to give me that negative 17x. What happens if you put the wrong numbers in the wrong spots?
Then you don't do.
You do it again the right way. Like you just, it's guessing and checking. And if you guess wrong, then try again. Exactly. You just do it until you get it right. Okay, last one. Last one. Is there a greatest common factor for 4, 12, and 9? No. So then I gotta figure out what can go in the first spot, what can go in the last spot, and my signs. Ooh, I know my sign. Yay, got that. What could possibly go in the first spot to make 4x squared?
4 and 1 or 2 and 2?
2 and 2 or 4 and 1?
2 and 2.
What could go in the last spot to make 9? 9 and 1 or 3 and 3? So we have like multiple options. We need a 12 in the middle. So you can kind of look at these numbers. Whatever I put in this spot is going to multiply with that spot. This spot is going to multiply with this spot. You can like look at these numbers and see, hey, I can get 2 6s if I multiply these together.
Oh, will be spread.
So if I do 2x plus 3 and 2x plus 3, I got 2x plus 3, that's 6x. I'm at 2x times 3. And then 3 times 2x, that's 6x. They add together to give me 12x. Now, Brandon just said, oh wait, these are exactly the same. So I have to write 2x plus 3 squared for my final answer. Your assignment is the worksheet attached, just the odd question. If you would like to do extra for extra practice, I've given you plenty.
Wait.
But the assignment is the odd question.
Would evens be something? Oh,
Extra credit?
Maybe. I haven't assigned it yet.